Okay. Okay. Welcome, Frans. It's a big pleasure to have you here. And after the last interview that we had and the workshop, for the workshop too, I want to make you a lot of compliments. People that was very satisfied, and it was a very interesting and important contribute you got to the workshop. So again, we are last time we was the post masterclass, now we are post workshop. And it's really a pleasure to stay here with you and have a speech about Reiki generally. And yes, great. As I said, I start my purpose to help a bit in Italy to improve in what is really Reiki, and go a bit out about this mystical new age that they build around it, you know, and in which they really simplified too much. And this is not good for Reiki, I think. What is your experience?
Well, I think this is the whole thing. It's the simplification. For example, you know, sometimes people say, oh, just surrender, you know, just surrender and we do hands-on healing. But to surrender, man, that takes a lot of practice. We can't just say, just surrender and it happens like this. This takes a lot of dedication. We really talk about surrendering completely. I mean, monks, nuns train for that for years and years and years to be able to surrender 150%. So to, for example, just say, oh, you just surrender and the energy will flow, for me is a bit of a lack of understanding and making it too simple. And also for me, it really points to no self-responsibility.
Exactly. About this, I want to add, because I study psychology, okay, clinical psychology. And the topic is this: when you put hands on someone, okay, and the idea that you disappear, you know, that something do some things for you and brings to this the responsibilities that you just talk. And it's much more complex than this, because in the moment that you touch someone, you create a relation.
Yes.
And this relation is not one side. It goes and it comes. And so it's dynamic. The energy is not just it goes inside you. You get some energy too. And the touch, for example, in psychology, Freud, after he understands that transfer is a big issue and can be dangerous for the psychologists too, he tried to avoid all the contacts. So they went back on the client, you know, so that even no eyes contact was there. Imagine a touch, how much can influence. So if the Reiki practitioner is not centered, if he's really, you don't have the right competencies to manage what comes, it's even dangerous a bit. Not dangerous because something happened, but because maybe you cannot handle what comes out of this treatment, you know. And
absolutely,
I want to just add this, then I go back to you, and this be neutral, you know, and let go. It means a very big work on you, very big work, very big work. So as you said, this simplification is not, it's not good, because people say, okay, now I'm a healer. Let me put the hands on and something will happen.
Yeah, I see this a lot. And this is, I think this is a twofold. A is where we think that the system of Reiki is solely hands-on healing, you know, and a lot of people do it to become hands-on healer, not even to work on themselves, but actually, I want to do this as a job. And then we do these classes really quickly and we actually have no idea what we're doing. And then we just say, oh, just surrender, or, you know, these kind of things. And yeah, as you say, it can be dangerous in that way, because if we are not centered and grounded enough ourselves, and that for me is the pre-request for any good practitioner, no matter if you're a massage therapist, acupuncturist, or a Reiki practitioner, then you're on slippery slope. And you see this, you only have to look at forums where you see a lot of questions. Oh, I feel I picked something up from this client. I need to learn how to protect myself. I feel really tired after treatments, and, you know, I'm really confused. There's a lot of worry and fear. And, you know, some of these questions come from Reiki masters, yes, where I think, wow, you show here that you're a Reiki master, and yet you come up with all this fear. Where is that? How does that fit together? And, you know, I think this is also the way we've now created spiritual practices, yes, that we buy them. You know, traditionally you were an apprentice, and the teacher would say, my teacher still does that. I had also a Taoist teacher who worked like the same way. Frans, this exercise you can teach. This you can't teach because you're not understanding it. So keep practicing. They told you when you could do it. They told you when you could start doing treatments on a person, and not the other way around, because we don't know. If we ignorance of our own imbalance, then it becomes very tricky.
You know, this, I think this has happened because we don't have a really teaching path. We just have a 2-day workshop. So you have to find out some things to explain to people that 2 days is enough.
Yeah.
And so it's normal. You have to say, don't worry, energy will do it for you. You don't have any responsibility. You will give nothing about you. Your energy is not involved. Be relaxed. Even if you don't remember, even if you talk phone and you do healing, is okay.
Yeah, you do hands-on healing while watching the television, you know, these kind of...
And this brings big confusion, because, you know, I see it like this. People comes generally to Reiki because they feel some problems. Okay.
Absolutely.
And after 2 days, they go out to heal others. This is really, I cannot. This is for it. I think, how you can believe something like this? What means someone put the hands on your head, makes a ritual, and all your problems disappear. Now you are elected. The energy elect you to be the channel in which it can bring love and healing. This is crazy. So if we don't change this mindset, we, you know, I start make Reiki, it was 1989. I took my first level. And since then, I saw a downgrade, not an upgrade. I talk here, I don't, maybe in America or in Europe, in other countries, these don't happen so much. But here, it was completely downgrade. Here, everybody can get teacher in 3 days, or I don't know, in 1 month, in 2 months.
Mm.
So if we don't make a standard, as you said, that we need to accompany the people to have a really develop inside them and understand what they are doing. This is the result. this is what
it starts to become very superficial, I think. And, you know, some people, they say, oh, you know, we're becoming more spiritual, etc., etc. But this is not just the problem with the system of Reiki. We see this in yoga, for example. Nowadays, I think specifically also due to Instagram, where you see yoga is portrayed as some acrobatics now, you know. And many years ago, I went to this yogi, and he was talking at this very fancy yoga studio, and he sat himself on his cushion and he asked about 12 people. He said, why do you practice yoga? Why do you practice yoga? And he listened to the answers and he said, so it looks like none of you practice yoga here. And everybody went like, what? And he said, none of you said that you practice yoga for self-awakening.
Exactly.
And, you know, this is also where you now have what some Buddhist teachers call conference Buddhism. You know, there is just people go to the conference of some Buddhist teachers and maybe get a blessing, but then they go home and they don't apply it. And this is what we have now. We're kind of watering down a lot of these old teachings, unfortunately. And by that, actually, we miss the whole point.
Yes. I think this is cultural, Frans.
Yes, it is a very cultural thing.
This is not in our culture, you know, an Indian or I don't know, Tibetan or I don't know, maybe Japanese. It's in their culture maybe to have an achievement that requests some sacrifice, you know, you have to really put time, work on yourself. Here is not like this. When I make my Reiki classes and I point everything on them, not on healing, they get disappointed because
it is.
Because they have a need, you know, they have a need to be recognized because maybe in the life they was not recognized. They have problems, maybe in the family, you know, they don't give them the right importance. And then they see through Reiki a kind of way to suddenly have a power that someone can recognize them, you know, and finally they can point to something higher. But this is not true. Then you see after maybe 1 year, the people that came to you with a lot of problems is wearing completely white with Japamala in the hand, with a bell and spread wisdom that maybe read 10 minutes before on a book, okay? And they say, I'm spiritual. So I don't believe you can teach spirituality. It's something that you can just experience.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem now that we, for me, we have really simplified spirituality. And my teacher in Japan, I mean, he practiced besides his normal duties. He's a priest. He practiced at least 2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours in the evening. So that's 5 hours a day. And then he does his other priest duties. So he really points out that, yeah, we've been bastardizing the system of Reiki or spiritual practice in general. And, you know, if I work with him or when I work with my Taoist teacher who I worked with for 12 years, who came from a very traditional Taoist family in China, I go, shit, man, we're just scratching the surface and we're calling ourselves masters or healers. We have no right ultimately to do this. We have actually no understanding. We're just fumbling in the dark. And sometimes I find it's a little bit dissatisfying and disorientated for myself. I mean, I'm guilty of the same thing. I do my best, but we have to change the view, as you say. You know, we have to really make people aware that it's not about hands-on healing. And, you know, Mikasui, we read the precepts. There is no mention of hands-on healing. It's solely about your own mind. This is, I mean, it's the crux. It's right in our face. And yet we all go, hands-on healing. But where is the no anger? Where is the no worry? Man, fuck, that is difficult. It's not just an achievement and voila, now you're not angry and worried for the rest of your life and you're 150% compassionate for the rest of your life. That is kind of how we treat it. But we all know, if we look honestly in the system of Reiki or honestly in our heart or in the mirror, then we realize this is not the truth.
Yes, completely. And it's interesting, we are very attuned on what we are saying, because I have to say, the same thinking. And even in the workshop that I made when it was my turn, I said exactly this about the 5 precepts. I said, yes, you pointed on the wall, maybe in your workroom, you sign it, maybe you know it you have it in memory how to say, but live these principles, these precepts is completely something else.
Absolutely.
It's not easy. You have to make a deeper understanding. And so I gave them some tools to do it that we use maybe in psychology, because I said, for example, anger. Exists 4 kinds of anger. If you for 1 month, you classify them, okay, and you try to understand what moves the anger, you can, after 1 month, understand, for example, that one kind of anger that you have is the most common. So you can start to work on this, to bring awareness about it. And this is the same on the other precepts too. Because it's an internal power, you know, and when it's internal power, not muscle power, the work is internal, and it's the most difficult, Frans, and you know it.
This is the hard, and this is, I think, why we have over time externalized the system of Reiki. I mean, Mrs. Takate, in a book, I think it was 1937, 1936, in a diary, she wrote that she went to Japan and that she met with Japanese students of Mikusui, other Reiki practitioners. And in the diary, it says, first of all, that you have to go within, that you have to go to that Reiki within, what lies at the bottom of your stomach, and that you have to meditate. And then there's some recordings where state that she met these practitioners in Japan, and that it took years and years of practice, that it was highly intertwined with Japanese spiritual practices, and that it was very complex. And now we just say, oh yeah, just do the attunement and just be, or just surrender. But as you say, it's not that easy. I mean,
But what means, even the meaning of surrender is very difficult to understand, you know, because when you say to someone surrender, it means, okay, there is something dangerous, stronger, okay, that maybe I have to surrender to it.
Yeah.
But it's not this. I think it's more surrender to yourself.
Yeah.
And this means to find out who you really are. So surrender to your true self and put out all the identification that you build, your mask that you put on, to see who you really are. And this is the most difficult work in life, not just in Reiki.
In life.
It's very difficult.
And this is why it's all about self-responsibility. Yeah. I was in the elevator the other day, and I'm living in this apartment building on the 11th floor, and this woman came in and she said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not wearing a mask. I said, well, I'm wearing mine. And she looks at me, she said, no, you're not wearing a mask. I said, I'm wearing my mask. And then the penny dropped, and she said, wow, that's a good one. I said, yes, we all wear so many masks.
Yes. Exactly.
And as you say, to really surrender is to surrender to your true self. And Mikusui pointed it out in the Reiki 3 as the great bright light, luminosity, clarity, emptiness. Shit, that is the rest of our life. We have to work on that.
If we don't bring light to our shadows, if we don't bring light to all the part that we exclude from ourselves, because we think, you know, they are not social accepted, and how I can really be helpful for someone if I didn't make before this work on myself, you know? Sometimes I think that we go to the others, these healers, they go there and they give them advices, do this, do that. They give hints, okay? Because these are exactly the hints that they need to bring in their life, in the hope that maybe if he can solve the problem, then they can say, okay, maybe if he did it with my advices, maybe I can do it too.
Yeah.
So healing is a very big word, you know.
It is, and I think
very
also
big word
what I see a lot is where people come for healing or come from classes and they only want to hear what they want to hear. If you tell them something else, you say, tell them, go and ground, sit on your butt and go and ground. They don't want to hear that.
Yes, exactly.
But even if that might be super good for them, they might just, no, I don't need that. I'm happy up here in my la-la land. And you can say 20 times to them, go and ground, go inside, go and center yourself, etc., etc. They even sometimes become angry. So then for me, you go for someone to a class only to hear what you want to hear. That is already, you come with your cup full.
Yes, exactly.
And therefore, it's very difficult to start to heal yourself. You know, again, we come back to that surrender is, if I go for healing and my teacher tells me to do some specific practices, I need to trust that person. Of course, this is also why we have to be careful who we pick for our teacher, but we have to go within. As you say, that surrender is really within. It's not somewhere external. It's not hanging in the sky, etc., etc. It's right within ourselves.
Yes, and you know, the topic is this. I always say, if you give the responsibility to your healing or the transformation to energy, symbols, or to another, okay, you will always delegate your power to someone and you will get disappointed, like always. You have to get back this power. You have to watch inside you and get aware about your resources, about your skills, your talents, and work with them to bring balance in yourself. Not say, okay, now Chokurei, it will heal me. Now Daikomyo, now this will heal me. Or the master came to me, he put my hands, now I will. This is a completely delegate everything in the life, not take the responsibilities. And you know, when you start to talk with them like this, to the people I see, now I completely just, in my 5 days online courses, I just point on all the time. It's just watch on you, watch inside you. There you have to find the light. There you have to find your spirituality. And you will find out that you are completely a different person than you think. You have a lot of potentiality, a very big potentiality we have that we just don't use. So I completely agree in everything what you are saying. That hands of healing is, I think, really Usui didn't make the system for this.
No,
I completely convinced about it. Yes. No?
We only have to look at the tools within the system of Reiki to see that he didn't create the system for hands-on healing. I mean, it's very obvious. And yet now when we say, I'm doing Reiki, everybody thinks that means I'm performing hands-on healing. So yeah, I think that is one thing we need to change. And again, you know, in the precepts is very clear. It's very simple. It's very direct. There is no point where in the precepts towards hands-on healing whatsoever. It's all about your own mind. And a while ago, I was a bit naughty. And this gentleman in a class, he was saying, oh, Frans, I know this really great way. And he kept saying it, that he knew a great way of protecting himself with the symbols and the mantras. So after a while, I said, okay, maybe you should show it to people. So, you know, he was busy drawing the symbols over his body and his hands and his feet. It took about 10 minutes. And then he stood there and I said, so now you're all protected. And he says, yeah. And I hit him on the head, soft, but not too soft. I went like, book. He said, oh, that hurts. I said, well, it didn't work.
Yes, it didn't work very good, your protection.
I mean, it's just so in our mind, you know, we have to be, this is, okay, one precepts we often, you know, it's if you look at it traditionally, it's being grateful, but often translated as being honest. We have to be super, super honest.
Yes.
And this is a difficult thing, you know, what we find, to look honestly in the mirror and to look honestly at the system of Reiki, to look honestly at what it's really telling us. And if we can do this honestly, right, really honestly, it's very difficult because we have all these ideas, interpretation, etc. But if we look honestly at it, then we come to a very different conclusion than what it is actually about.
Yes. And you don't think that with these findings, with this awareness, you don't think we have to start to change a bit the aim of Reiki? So, because if we continue to do what we are doing, but maybe me and you, we are talking and say, yes, it's like this, so we didn't point on hands-on healing, and you have to point on yourself, it's internal work, okay. But then, if we go out and continue to give power to this hands-on healing, we are doing nothing. We are not bringing a change, you know. We are continuing doing this. And maybe this healing stuff, it can come at a certain point if it's needed, if okay. But really, after you complete a serious and honest, diligent work on yourself. So if you do this, then maybe you have even the tools to really go in a therapeutical relation with someone. Otherwise, it's really just in the mind. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people say, oh, but hands-on healing is a great gateway for people, you know, to start developing themselves. And yes, I agree to one side is great. We have to start somewhere. However, we're running out of time. And that might take 20 years for that person to do hands-on healing. And finally they say, oh, maybe I need to look within because it's not doing that well. Why not start? Start straight away in your classes, boom, make sure it goes within. Why not? You know, why wait? There is no time to wait. We only have to look outside at the world, how it is today. It's fucked. I mean, you know, people will say, yes, we've become more spiritual, blah, blah, blah. Again, we have to be brutally honest. Like, we only have to look outside of our window. Yes, of course, there's love and kindness and compassion, but there's a lot of war, there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of hate in between people, in between races, in between how you look, how I look. That is not spirituality. This is not the embodiment of the precepts. And so therefore, again, it's that honestly looking at things. What we have, as soon as your student books in or comes to this class, even prior already, but we have to start somewhere, then again, straight away, make them aware it's about self-responsibility. It's about personal practice. But this is very difficult for people to hear, self-responsibility, because A, we like to blame people. You did that to me, right? You made me angry, you know, you made me do this.
Yes.
But we have to start somewhere, you know.
Maybe, you know, we have a lot of contamination too. Because even Takata, or I don't know, maybe Hayashi, suddenly they put chakras inside. Yeah. You know, here in the Western, we use chakras. But why chakras? It's a contamination, you know. And from there, we go to Ayurveda, we go to the gurus, you know, and you see this Reiki master all white like gurus. It's like this. No, believe me, it's like this. They have the class, they chant Indian mantras, and they read, and then you say, but hey, what is the connection with Reiki? Oh, because Reiki, you work on chakras. So for years, when I start, really, there was not many people that do Reiki, you know, in the first. And people that was there, they was all convinced that Takata Reiki was the real Reiki, and all the rest was fake and it was not good. And it's funny, the same people, I know them, when Hiroshi Doi came, suddenly they changed flag, you know, okay, Takata, okay, sorry, it was wrong, now these Japanese or the masters, but we know as well, nobody of us really can say what Usui did. So I believe, this is my belief, Reiki, once you put it inside you, you know, in making, you create really a deep relation, you start to work on you.
Yeah.
And you develop some things, and this works. This is the most important. And have the instruments to promote this developing. This is interesting. I come to you and you give me some hints, some drills. This has much more value than you come to me, okay, Graziano, the hands, this angle and this angle, and because if you put hands like this, energy will lose power.
Yeah.
This brings me nowhere. I need someone that point, say, go, then I have to walk, but someone point me in the right direction.
Well, this is it. The first thing is that for me, the teacher is there ultimately to point into the right direction. Then I have the responsibility, if I want to embody the precepts in my daily life, to apply what the teacher is pointing at and to apply the teachings. But if, you know, here's an interesting thing. A lot of people say, oh, you know, all these different paths lead to the same mountaintop. But that is not true. Because there's parts what goes around the mountain and you never reach the top. And some parts are very slippery. And if you give up and if you don't have the right guide, you never reach the top either. So this is why I read something today, yesterday. I have these really great books by a Tibetan teacher. He's quite outspoken. And he wrote actually a beautiful piece about, you know, how there are so many people now who claim to be enlightened, and you know, he said these are just false gurus and we have to be very careful. But it becomes the blind leading the blind.
Exactly. This is the risk, no? Because I always, sometimes I really find I go in this discussion with these people that they want to make everything simple, you know. When you try them to explain, listen, it's not like this. It's a bit more complicated. No, this is your mind. This is not like Reiki is very simple. Reiki is just put your hands and finish, you know. And then I get very, sometimes it makes me not saying, hey, why I dispute with these people. But the problem is they believe in this because someone make them believe in this.
Yes,
it's a chain, you know. It's a chain. I think, okay, it's not their fault. Someone goes there and say, watch, now you are enlightened. And these people too, they think maybe they make Reiki and they get Reiki master and then suddenly have superpowers. Okay, now I can open. Oh, about this we have to talk to. This initiation, this ratio, open you the channels. Wow. It's like I'm close, who me, and then someone come and say, now you are open. Your channels are open, and now you can channeling this big power of energy through you. But we already do this.
I mean, if I'm really closed, I'm dead, right?
Exactly. This I want to say. We already channel this energy.
We are already universal energy. I mean, this is a while ago, someone asked, so Frans, or he said, without the attunement, a person cannot channel Reiki. And I said to the person, what does Reiki mean for you? Oh, universal energy. So really what you're saying, without the attunement, you cannot channel Reiki. Without the attunement, you cannot channel universal energy. I said, so a person who has never received the attunement, they must be dead. Because we are universal energy. And the guy stands there and go, I've never really thought about it this way. But this is a teacher, you know, and this is unfortunately, again, as a teacher, we have responsibilities.
Exactly.
Each teacher, of course, we all make mistakes. This is normal because we're all still touching in the dark, and it is also normal, but we also have to try to be, as much as possible, to be brutally honest. And this is sometimes, Yeah, where we get these statements like, you know, now you're closed, only I can give you Reiki, and only I can do this magical thing. And actually my Reiki is more powerful than
exactly
that Reiki over there. No, that is not my style of Reiki, man. That is the best of the universe. And hang on, next year I'll be channeling something else, and that will be even stronger. You have to pay for it again, but don't worry, it's coming next year. And I go, man, are we really believing this shit?
But it's crazy that we even have to talk about it.
But this is it.
You know, but it's really like this.
It is. I personally found it a very sad situation.
But it's really like this. And all this fighting between these Reiki masters too, no? It happens really a lot because everybody won't have the right Reiki, the more powerful Reiki. But they are far away from everything, you know. It means you are really involved in your ego-centric belief that you really have something better than the other.
For me, it comes back, it comes all to one thing, really, and that is money. You know, for me, a lot of people are in it for the wrong reason, and it is a financial gain. Don't get me wrong, I have to pay my rent, yes.
Oh, yes, I agree with you.
But I talked to someone the other day and said, Frans, so you're going to teach this for the rest of your life? And I said, maybe not. And he goes, yeah, but you do well. And I said, yes, but if I don't feel like it anymore. He said, but it's a nice earning, you know, you do okay. I said, yeah, but if I don't like it anymore, if I don't feel like teaching, then I'm doing my students a disservice. I've never, ever been in it for the money. It sounds strange, but it's never been my aim. Oh, I'm going to make it happen that way naturally, but I've never said, oh yes, and now I'm going to make some good money out of this. If we already have that intent, we're already on the wrong path.
Yes. Yes, money is something collateral that will come. It's right that someone pay because this means to take responsibilities. Because if I pay some things, it means I invest time somewhere to have this money. And now I want to invest in something that is for me a teaching. But the teacher that take this money, you have to be aware about what he's teaching, because otherwise it's not a good deal, not for you and not for the student. So thinking that you reach maybe a master level and it finished for you, that now you are on the top, this is the wrongest way to develop really a good knowledge to teach them. This is a work in progress. If I read some stuff that I wrote maybe 10 years ago, I really have to rewrite everything because in 10 years it happens very much stuff in myself, a lot of awareness stuff that I believed in that moment completely changed. It completely changed. Now I'm really pragmatic, you know. I put out everything that is really not necessary. My kind of Reiki, it's not anymore attractable, like, you know, when you go to someone very good white wearing and scenography is very nice around him, lights, and now my Reiki is really point on the point. This is it. Watch. I put out everything that really is not anymore needed. But it makes me feel good, Frans.
I mean, I think this is, again, it's needed. And it is the same in, as I said before, it's the same in yoga. You know, we kind of have contaminated these spiritual practices a lot. And it doesn't always make it better. You know, a lot of people, and some people say, oh, but it's a different time now. It's modern. It's, you know, they try to justify it with all sorts of shit. But for me I mean, it's in a way, it's so simple, and yet it is so difficult to do because we come, again, for me, I come back to the precepts. Am I being less angry, less worried, being more grateful, being more true to my way of being, and being more compassionate. And, you know, this, if we really think about it, is not an easy task in this current world. This is why we have to sit on a meditation pillow, and we have to practice, and we have to internalize these practices, not externalized. Because I always say also, where's my trauma? I don't store the trauma somewhere here in the air. I store my trauma in my body, in my mind, in my energy. Is not hanging out somewhere there. And so therefore I have to go within if I want to let go of the trauma.
You know, I come from martial arts. Okay, I start very young to make martial arts, and for example, if you see Shaolin priests, before they get accepted, maybe they had to stay outside the temple for maybe weeks, waiting that they let them enter. And this was a kind of initiation. And in psychology too, the study that they made about initiation, it was always like this, that there was always something to, how I can say, a task that they had to do, that in more difficult it was, more they would fidelize to the group or to the community, And initiation is a kind of way to bring someone that is not part of the community to be part of the community. Now, imagine something like this, okay? Someone wants to start to make Reiki. The master say, okay, I value that you talk with him, you can find out that he's honest about it, that he really want to improve. And so you make a ritual to accept him in your school, in the community. Then you will say, first, do not anger. Now work on do not anger. And after he bring you results, okay, that you can even give him some tools to do it, then you will make initiation to the next principle. So don't worry.
Yeah.
And like this, every time they achieve some things, they get this ceremony. And they can put it inside because they work on it. It was a task. If you don't make this task, you cannot go to the next.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like this, I think you can even motivate people to do it because you say, wow, I want to have this too. I want to get to the next,
Yeah. My teacher in Japan works like that. He said, we start with this, and if you can't do it, then I can't give you the next thing. You have to do it. And if not, then bad luck. There's the door.
Yeah. Like this, we point on spiritual work, and we point on that people have to do some things, that it's not really to just go out and put their hands and sing, oh, I'm very special, because, my master gave me the symbols. Now I can call energy. He opened my channel. Suddenly now I can feel the power inside me. And this is up to us.
Yeah. It's up to us.
It's up to us. We have to really discuss about it and change some stuff and say, okay, how much important is all these techniques, or which techniques are good for the first step and which are good for the next step, so that we can have a develop that is balanced. If we don't do it, Reiki will go forward like this. It's easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And for me, it's the same if I want to go running. I'm not a sports person, but for a while I tried to go to the gym and running. But you can't just run a marathon. I cannot just say, hey, I know I'm buying a marathon and now I'm going running.
Exactly.
I'll be dead in 5 minutes, and this is the same. I cannot buy myself a violin that I give you some money and suddenly I'm the best violin player in the world. We have to practice all of these things, no matter what we think about, we have to practice. Oh no, but not Reiki. Reiki is easy because
exactly.
Magical thing, and voila. But it doesn't work that way. You know, we have simplified it so much that it's actually not worth a thing anymore.
You know, this simplifying, I have to really recognize that Takata made Reiki famous because of this. Okay?
Absolutely.
But now it's famous. Now we have to bring it again on this rise place. We have to work on it, Frans, because really, I think he deserves it, Reiki. You know, otherwise, in 10 years, it will be really like, I don't know, something very... He will lose the real meaning and the power, you know? And this is the work that we... Now I'm really busy with this. I want to really talk with influent people in this ambient and try to understand what they think about it, and really if we cannot do some things to give them a right value, a right place, and this will help people much more than now.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is also what we need now at this moment in time, even more than previous moments. I mean, of course, the world has gone in many different difficult times, but this moment is the moment that we need to investigate within ourselves, not saying, oh, I do some hands-on healing here, or, you know, some people, I'm doing hands-on healing and while I go to bed, and you're sleeping. Let's be brutally honest. You're not doing hands-on healing, exactly. You're sleeping.
You sleep, yes.
Right? It is something quite different. And that it is all around the precepts. This is how, if I can't find peace within, if I still have a lot of anger and worry and fear and anxiety, how the hell do I think it's going to be a better world out there? It's impossible. So therefore, it first comes to me. I am responsible for world peace.
Yes.
And
exactly.
I need to take that responsibility finally one day serious, because else we never get heaven on earth. It will never happen.
You know, I had a student, he said, I tried to make meditation, but I don't get relaxed. And I said, relaxed? You don't have to get relaxed. You have to get awake. It's different.
That's it.
Try to find out who is not relaxed, and then you made real meditation. But I thought I have to relax. No. It's not relaxing. Make meditation is something that brings awareness, who you are, who is thinking, who is feeling pain, or who is feeling nervous. And they have really wrong ideas. And again, Reiki is a very powerful tool, and it can really help you improve and have a better quality of life.
Yeah.
But we have to come out and thinking that we are like Jesus Christ and we can go there and help people and heal people. Heal yourself. Show me. If you come to me and you bring your example of healing, this is the most powerful work that you can do on someone. This works. If I see someone that was 130 kilo, okay, and now is 60, 70, and I want to make a diet, and he comes to me and he say, watch, make this diet, because watch, this is what I was and watch me now. He completely convinced me. You know, this is a good example. But if someone comes that is 130 and comes to me and say, make this diet because it will help you, he will not convince me. So the example is very important. You bring an example of life.
Yeah, this is it. It has to be interfused with life. It's not something separate, a spiritual practice. And I think you hit the hammer on the nail. You know, when people come for Reiki or for meditation, I want to feel relaxed. Easy. Have a nap.
Yes, exactly.
That's easier than to do hands-on healing or pay for a course or pay to sit on your meditation pillow. Have a nap. Go to sleep. Then you feel more relaxed. But this is not what meditation, as you say, it's about becoming awake.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is the most difficult part, you know, because you have to first recognize the sources in which you identify. Now I have a son, he's 20 months. Okay. Very late, I mean, it was crazy.
My son will be 21 next week.
You see? You was much more faster than me. But every time maybe I say, oh, he's like an earthquake, you know, I get away. This will be a source for him. One day he will put his mask. He will say, I am earthquake, or I am this, or I am that. And we identify with the sources, and the sources get our mask, and we react like this. But are we really like this? I was very shy when I was young, when I was maybe child. They always say, he's close, he's shy, he's introvert. He's not that he's not kind or polite. He just don't like to talk. And this get my mantra. Even in the years I go maybe to disco, I was always the one in the angle. You know, everybody had fun, me not. And this, I completely identify with it. Just when I made a work on me, I find out I'm not shy.
Yeah.
I'm not shy. I'm someone that like to be involved in the stuff, you know, but this mask, I completely put it inside me. So this is work on yourself.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's about removing and dissolving those masks. And yeah, and as you say, that is hard work. It's not easy. This is why we have to keep practicing. We have to keep applying the teachings. We have to hold each other's hands to walk that path. But it's not an easy job, and it brings up pain and discomfort and issues, anger and worry, but that's okay too. But you have to keep going. But if we see it constantly, oh, this will do it for me, this angel over there, or this deity there, or this being over here, or then it's never going to work, because you're not empowering yourself.
Exactly. You delegate just to someone the work that you have to do. And these last minutes, I would like to talk about this initiation, because, you know, I know you made a lot of research about it, and how really important it is. Because I told in the interview here, it's the focus, the main of all these 2 days is just this initiation, then after. But I think it's not like this. I don't feel like this. Yes, it can be a blessing that you give me. It can be a ceremony that you accept me in your school. This I can accept, but I cannot accept that someone that maybe has more problems than me, that is less spiritual than me, comes and want to open the channels and then makes me be a healer. I don't know what you think about it, but I would really like that you give your opinion and your researches and share it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, well, this is it. You know, there's so many different layers to that. We could do another 5 hours.
Yes, I know.
But in a nutshell, for me, a lot of people say you cannot do hands-on healing after you've received the attunement, you know, but we're already touchy-feeling people, you know. Hands-on healing is a birthright. Exactly. No need to have an attunement for that. It's very simple. We all, when we fall over, we already put our hands on ourselves. And if someone falls over and says, oh, help me, and you already give them a hug, or, you know, it's a birthright. So the word reiju traditionally in Japan means spiritual blessing or spiritual offering. It doesn't mean hands-on activating method. If that was the case, they would have called it a hands-on activating method, right? And not reiju. So very simple. And reiju for me, and also Hiroshi Doi says that, you know, is the initial step. And then you have to practice. You have to sit on your butt to practice. No practice, ultimately no reiju. Yeah, no practice, ultimately no attunement. This is, for me, how I see it. Well, you can receive all the attunements in the world, but if you don't practice and you still stay an asshole, then what is the meaning of these attunements? Absolutely nothing.
Exactly. Yes, I completely agree with you. Well, Frans, there is a lot of work to do.
There's a lot. We better go back to our pillows.
Yes, we have to go back to our pillows, yes, and practice. And yes, and I'm very happy to have this sharing with you, because you give me confirmations that, okay, who really is involved in Reiki, you know, not 1 year, not 2 years, but really invest time in it, comes to the same conclusions.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this for me is the pinnacle, right? If you really, really practice, and this, I mean, really practice, not just or look for somewhere externally, but really practice, you will come to the same conclusions. There is no doubt about it. We see this in Taoism, we see this in traditional yoga, we see this in Buddhism, in all these old ancient spiritual practices. When you apply the work, you come to the same point, the same conclusion. Very simple, but also very difficult.
Very difficult. Yes, I agree with you. This is the big work that we have to do.
Yeah.
Frans, the hour passed very fast. It goes, but it was very interesting, and I'm very grateful that I could have this hour with you and share our opinions. And I wish this video again can help people to open their minds and maybe change their minds too about Reiki, you know, or at least motivate them to make some researches. Okay, say, okay, let me see what these people are saying. Maybe they are right, maybe not. I want to make my research, and if we achieve this, is a good step, a good start.
Absolutely.
And on my side, I will really do my best to help people to understand that Reiki is really not this hand-on healing. Yes, it can be a part of it, but a smaller part. That at first is the work on yourself. This is important. I really work on it since now years, and I'm happy that others do it too. So, Frans, thank you very much. I don't know if you want to say something more.
Thank you, Graziano. I have one more thing. It just popped in my mind. There's this Buddhist teacher, and he's quite outspoken, and I like how he said this. And he was saying, you know, you think someone came to him and said, "I've been practicing for years." I said, "Really? You've been practicing for years?" "Yes, I've been practicing for years." I said, "Okay, let's investigate." Okay. How many hours do you practice every day? 1 hour. So you've not been practicing for years. You've practiced 1 hour once a day for 1 year, you know, so let's add this up. And then he said, from this 1 hour, you know, you probably skipped some days here and there. And the guy goes, "Yeah, I skipped some days here and there." So, and then he goes, "So of this 1 hour, you've been practicing, but most of the time you were really distracted by past, present, future." And he goes, "Yes. So in all these years you've been practicing, in reality, you practiced 2 months or something like that, you know." But it was such an interesting insight. If we really be honest to ourselves, you know, then we haven't been on a big scale of things. We haven't been practicing this much. And a lot of these traditional teachers, you know, they say, if you want to really make a dent in your practice, you have to practice 20, 22, 23 hours a day. You sleep for 1-2 hours and then you go practice. But of course, we don't do this because we're not in a temple. We have to work. We have a family member, but we have to start somewhere. And therefore, we have to be brutally honest.
Yes, this is very important. Be honest with ourselves, I think, is one of the most difficult issues in the life generally, because accepting that maybe we was not at the level, that maybe we make mistakes, is always hard. It's always more easy to give faults to
other people,
or the context. I couldn't because of this, because of that. But yes, this is the only way. And really, I liked very much when you, in the interview, you said everything is Reiki.
Yeah.
It's not just a privilege for someone elected, you know. Everything is Reiki. So I'm part of this energy, and I have to go inside me to find this part. And then suddenly everything is Reiki. And this is the difficult. It sounds very easy. Okay, I go inside, I find this part, and then, okay, now I'm Reiki. But this is the most difficult work that we can do. But as you said, somewhere we have to start.
Yeah.
And practice is the mother of this, of every discipline that you want to start to do. You have to practice. Study, practice, research, experiment.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of these Buddhist teachers. He said, well, okay, you know, he said, everybody talks about oneness now. He said, this is an easy test. Grab a candle, lit the candle, stick your hand above it, and say you're one with the flame. If you get burned, shut up and keep practicing. If you don't get burned, come to me and I will be your student. And this is really, if we really think about it, you know, I'm in such a oneness space. Easy to test. Don't fool yourself. You know, it's really easy to test, because if I'm one with the flame, then a flame can't burn another flame. It's impossible. I can't get burned. So easy test. If you believe that you're really one at one particular moment in time, lit the candle, stick your hand over it, and see if you're fooling yourself. I mean, it's a funny thing, but this is the test we have to do. This is how honest we have to be. And if you still burn yourself, shut up about, you know, oh, I am so one with everything. I'm one with the universe and all of these things. This is honesty, you know, and this is sometimes, as you say, is very, very difficult.
Yes, they are one with the idea about it.
This is it. Yeah, it's an intellectual idea, but not a direct experience.
Not a direct experience.
Yeah.
Frans.
Grazie.
Thank you very much for the time. Okay, thank you.
Ciao. Thank you.